For centuries, the legend of Robin Hood has captivated imaginations around the world. The daring outlaw, stealing from the rich to give to the poor.
Outwitting the Sheriff of Nottingham and living freely in Sherwood Forest, it's a story that feels almost too good to be true. But was there a real Robin Hood behind the myth? Was he a heroic figure fighting for justice, or merely a product of medieval folklore? Today, we're diving deep into the historical evidence to uncover the truth behind this enduring mystery. Join us as we explore the lives of historical outlaws, the turbulent times that shaped the legend, and the lesser-known facts that bring this tale to life. Robin Hood's story has been told and retold in countless forms, from ancient ballads to modern films. But beneath the layers of fiction, there are tantalizing clues that suggest a kernel of truth. Historians have long debated whether Robin Hood was based on a real person, and while no definitive answer exists, several historical figures share striking similarities with the legend. As we journey through the annals of history, we'll encounter fugitives, rebels, and bandits whose exploits echo the adventures of Robin Hood. We'll also examine the socio-political landscape of medieval England, where social unrest and economic hardship gave rise to a folk hero who embodied the people's yearning for justice. Along the way, we'll uncover lesser-known facts that shed new light on this timeless legend. So, grab your bow and arrow, and let's venture into the heart of Sherwood Forest to discover the real Robin Hood. While no single person can be definitively identified as the real Robin Hood, several historical figures share compelling parallels with the legend. Let's start with Robert Hood, also known as Hob Hod, a fugitive mentioned in Yorkshire court records from 1225. His chattels were seized by the sheriff, and he appears in pipe rolls, financial records of the crown, from 1226 to 1234. Some historians speculate he might be the same person as Robert of Wetherby, an outlaw beheaded in 1225, though this remains uncertain due to sparse documentation. What makes Robert Hood intriguing is his status as a fugitive in Yorkshire near Barnesdale Forest, a key setting in the earliest Robin Hood ballads. His name appears repeatedly in records, suggesting he evaded capture for nearly a decade, an impressive feat that mirrors the cunning and resourcefulness we associate with Robin Hood. Could this elusive figure have inspired the legend, or is he just one piece of a larger puzzle? Next we have Robert Hood of Wakefield, a man who lived in the early 14th century. Court rolls from 1316 mention him alongside his wife Matilda, and records show he was fined for refusing to join Edward II's military forces. Some researchers connect him to Thomas of Lancaster's rebellion against the king in 1322, a failed uprising that led to many participants being outlawed. Intriguingly, a Robin Hood appears as a porter in Edward II's court in 1323 to 1324, raising the possibility that this could be the same Robert Hood, perhaps pardoned or reintegrated into society. However, evidence suggests he may have been employed before 1323, which muddies the outlaw timeline. Still, his proximity to Barnesdale Forest and the potential for a royal pardon echo the Guest of Robin Hood, a medieval ballad where Robin is pardoned by King Edward after years of defiance. The name Matilda also hints at a connection to Maid Marian, though this link is speculative. Robert Hood of Wakefield offers a fascinating blend of historical fact and legendary resonance. Perhaps the most compelling candidate is Roger Godberd, a 13th century outlaw whose life reads like a Robin Hood tale. A supporter of Simon de Montfort, a nobleman who rebelled against Henry III, Godberd was outlawed after the Battle of Evesham in 1265, a crushing defeat for de Montfort's forces. He fled to Sherwood Forest, where he led a band of up to 100 outlaws, terrorizing the countryside in Leicestershire and Nottinghamshire. Captured at Rufford Abbey by Sheriff Reginald de Grey, Godberd didn't stay imprisoned for long. He escaped from Nottingham Castle with the help of a knight, Richard Folliot, in a daring breakout that feels straight out of the ballads. Eventually, he was pardoned by Edward I, ending his outlaw career. His large band of followers, his Sherwood Forest base, and his dramatic escape align closely with Robin Hood's exploits. Some accounts even suggest a Robert Hood was tied to de Montfort's cause, further blurring the lines between history and legend. Roger Godberd's story is so striking that it's hard not to see him as a major influence on the Robin Hood narrative. Beyond these prominent figures, other historical outlaws add threads to the legend's tapestry. Robin de Devil, a bandit active after Evesham, operated in similar circles, while various individuals bearing names like Robehod or Rabenhod pop up in 13th century legal records. This frequent use of Robin Hood as an alias suggests it may have been a nickname for outlaws, possibly derived from robber or hooded man. By 1439, a parliamentary petition used Robin Hood to describe roving bandits, indicating that the name had become synonymous with outlawry, like John Doe for an anonymous person today. This alias hypothesis implies that the Robin Hood of legend might not be a single individual but a composite, an archetype born from the collective defiance of countless medieval outlaws. The sheer number of Robin Hoods in historical documents complicates the search for one definitive figure, suggesting the legend could be a fusion of many stories rather than the biography of one man. To understand why the Robin Hood legend took root and flourished, we need to step back and examine the turbulent times in which it emerged. Medieval England was a land of stark inequalities, where feudal lords held power over a peasantry burdened by taxes and labor obligations. This tension boiled over in the late 14th century with the Peasants Revolt of 1381, a massive uprising sparked by oppressive poll taxes and the lingering effects of the Black Death, which had decimated the population and deepened economic hardship. Led by figures like Wat Tyler, rebels stormed London, demanding the abolition of serfdom and an end to feudal oppression. Though the revolt was brutally suppressed, it left an indelible mark on English society, exposing the deep resentment of the common people toward their rulers. Scholars debate who these stories were meant for. Some, like historian J.C. Holt, argue that the ballads were crafted for the gentry, highlighting Robin's piety and courtesy to align with aristocratic ideals. Others see them as subversive tales for the common folk, celebrating resistance against a feudal system that kept them in chains. Regardless of their original audience, the ballad's appeal to the masses is clear. Their timing, coinciding with periods of unrest like the post-Black Death era and the Peasants' Revolt, suggests they served as a cultural outlet, a way for people to imagine a world where the little guy could win. Robin Hood became a symbol of hope, a figure who turned the tables on the powerful in a society where such victories were rare. The ballads of Robin Hood, like Robin Hood and the Monk and A Jest of Robin Hood, emerged in this charged atmosphere. They depict Robin as a yeoman, a free man of the middle class, neither noble nor serf, who takes on corrupt authority such as the Sheriff of Nottingham and greedy abbots. In these tales, Robin isn't just an outlaw, he's a champion of the downtrodden, using his archery skills and quick wit to outsmart his foes and redistribute wealth to those in need. This resonated powerfully with a populace tired of exploitation, turning Robin into a folk hero who embodied their dreams of justice. In A Jest of Robin Hood, for example, Robin lends money to a struggling knight to pay off a debt to a corrupt abbot, showcasing his generosity and contempt for clerical greed. In another ballad, he beheads a treacherous monk, a violent act that reflects the peasantry's anger toward religious authorities seen as complicit in their suffering. As centuries passed, the Robin Hood stories evolved, weaving in new characters and themes to reflect changing times. In the earliest ballads, Robin is a rough-and-ready yeoman, surrounded by a loyal band that includes Little John, Will Scarlet, and Much the Miller's son. Maid Marian, now a staple of the legend, doesn't appear in these original tales. Her roots likely lie in French folklore, such as the 13th century pastourelle, Jeux de Robin et Marion, where she's a shepherdess, and in England's May Day celebrations, where she played the May Queen. By the 16th century, she'd transformed into Robin's love interest, possibly inspired by Matilda, the wife of Robert Hood of Wakefield, though this connection is tenuous. Her addition softened the legend, adding a romantic subplot that broadened its appeal. Other characters followed a similar path. Friar Tuck and Allen a Dale, absent from the earliest stories, likely emerged from May Day rituals and folk traditions, joining the narrative in later centuries. In 1598, playwright Anthony Munday reimagined Robin as Robert, Earl of Huntingdon, a nobleman unjustly stripped of his title. This shift recast the outlaw as an aristocrat, fighting to reclaim his birthright, aligning the legend with the tastes of Elizabethan audiences. The settings evolved too. Early ballads emphasize Barnesdale in Yorkshire, but later versions spotlight Sherwood Forest in Nottinghamshire, likely due to its link to the Sheriff of Nottingham. This flexibility shows how the legend adapted, absorbing local lore and cultural trends to stay relevant. May Day festivities played a big role in this evolution. These spring celebrations, with their themes of renewal, often featured a Robin Hood figure leading archery contests, plays, and processions. Over time, these performances shaped the literary tradition, blending folk elements like Maid Marian and Friar Tuck into the ballads. The legend became a living story, molded by both oral storytelling and community rituals, ensuring it remained a vibrant part of English culture. But what was life really like for an outlaw in medieval England? Far from the romantic image of Robin Hood roaming Sherwood Forest with a merry band, reality was grim. Outlaws were declared caput lupinum, Latin for wolf's head, a legal status that stripped them of all rights. Anyone could kill them without penalty, and their property was seized by the crown. To survive, they fled to wild places like forests or marshes, but their existence was one of constant danger. Historical outlaws like the Fulville and Cotterell gangs, active in the 14th century, were more likely to kidnap, extort, and murder than to help the poor. They preyed on vulnerable peasants as often as they clashed with the wealthy, a far cry from the altruistic hero of the ballads. The legend's noble outlaw likely reflects a fantasy, a way for people to reimagine a brutal world where justice could triumph, even if only in song. To deepen our understanding, let's uncover some lesser-known facts about the Robin Hood legend. Take Roger Godberd's escape from Nottingham Castle, aided by Knight Richard Folliot. It's a real-life parallel to the ballad's tales of daring rescues and noble allies. Then there's the Sheriff of Nottingham, possibly inspired by historical figures like Philip Mark, High Sheriff of Nottinghamshire from 1208 to 1224, whose corruption was infamous, or Eustace of Loudham, a sheriff in both Yorkshire and Nottinghamshire known for similar abuses. These men give the legend's villain a grounding in reality. The early ballads also highlight Barnesdale over Sherwood, pointing to a stronger Yorkshire connection than many realize. This detail hints at the legend's origins in the north of England, before it migrated south in later tellings. May Day festivities further enriched the story. Archery contests and plays popularized Robin Hood as a folk hero, weaving in characters like Maid Marian and linking the legend to communal traditions. Finally, the Peasants Revolt of 1381 left its mark. Robin's wealth redistribution echoes the rebels' demands for fairness, cementing his role as a symbol of resistance. These facts reveal how history and folklore intertwined to create a legend larger than any one man. In the end, the Robin Hood legend likely blends the exploits of multiple historical outlaws with the dreams and struggles of medieval England. Figures like Robert Hood of Wakefield, and Roger Godberd offer glimpses of truth, but the name Robin Hood, as a widespread alias, suggests a composite hero shaped by the defiance of many. Its power lies in its message, justice and resistance against oppression, a theme that's kept it alive for centuries. Whether there was a single, real Robin Hood or not, the story's magic endures, speaking to our longing for a hero who fights for the underdog. The truth may remain elusive, but that's part of what makes Robin Hood so captivating. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this exploration, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Who do you think was the real Robin Hood? Let us know.